Hi friends, and welcome to this video. In this one, we are going to talk about the essentials that you need to start wood burning. Whether you are just starting wood burning or if you are experienced and you're just looking to upgrade the system you have, then this one's for you. And I just want to start by saying there are so many different brands and types of wood burning systems out there and different species of wood depending on where you are in the world. And it's ultimately going to be about personal preference and of course what's available to you where you are. So I'm just going to talk about what I use and what I have here in North America in terms of wood species and what I like to use, and go over some other essentials that in my opinion are game changers. First, you have the wood burning systems. This is number one of the two bare minimums you need to start wood burning. And there are two different types of kits out there. There is a solid nib system and then there's a wire tip system. Solid nib is a brass solid tip pen. They're usually interchangeable tips, so it doesn't come with a fixed tip. You have to turn off the system, wait for it to cool down, unscrew the nib, and replace it with what you want for the part of your project that you're working on next. Wire tip systems have something very similar, but the pen itself is with a wire tip and it's been shaped specifically tailored to getting different results. I started with a solid nib system by Walnut Hollow. This one was super cheap. If you are just getting started and you want to see if you like wood burning before making a couple $100 investment into a top of the line system, start with one of these. Start with something under $50 just to get a piece of metal that heats up and start burning the wood and see if you like the process. In my experience, I can guarantee that you are going to fall in love with it very quickly and you're gonna very quickly want to upgrade your system. And when you're ready, I would highly suggest you get a wire tip system because they are a game changer. This is Razertip's SSD10 burner. This is what I've been using for the past 4.5 years now. I actually started with the single version of this, which just means there's a single port to plug in your pens. I love that I can have two different pens plugged in at once and just very quickly switch over. Just with the push of a button, I can switch over to the other tip. So if I'll have like two different pens plugged in, one might be like a spoon shader, one might be a writing tip, and I can easily transfer between the two. And you can't have both heated up at the same time, but just makes things easier. You don't have to wait for pens to cool down to change them out. There's usually a dial for the heat on these tabletop systems. And that brings me to another reason why I adore this system and anything like it, is that it can just sit on your desk and then the pen itself is attached to a wire. Whereas with these solid nib pens, I find that they don't normally have a tabletop system. It's just the cord itself plugs into the wall and your pen is attached to that cord. And it's not easy to use. It can't extend very far. The dials bang against your desk. This is my experience with them, but for longer projects that I'm burning, 50 plus hours, I found it not very convenient to burn with a solid nib burner. So wire tip. I do have my own Razertip kit that me and a local company here in Ontario called Chipping Away bundled up my favorite pens to use with my favorite system, and the SK burner is another option. And you can purchase that ready to go with my favorite burner, my favorite pens, and you are just set. And you can get started wood burning as soon as you get it, and it has very versatile tips. There's fixed tip pens and then there's interchangeable pens. I love fixed tip pens, but interchangeable are far more budget friendly and they are not super complicated to use. Similar to the solid nib pens, you have to wait for the pen to cool down and you have to unscrew with a screwdriver, take out the tip, and replace it with the one that you want to use. Just a little bit more time consuming. I have invested in fixed tip because it saves me time, saves me the hassle, but again, it's what works for you and your budget. These 6 right here are the only pens that I've had in the past 5 years. They are tried and true. They get me the results I want, various different techniques. I might for fun get something different, but these are my staple. My most used, my absolute favorite pen is this one. It is considered a small spoon shader. I find it good for shading. I find it good for getting little crevices of detail. You can do texture with this. You can get a nice sharp straight line with it or a curved one. Very versatile pen. With any of the pens you get, I highly recommend you just play around with placement, how you hold it, because all of these pens are so versatile. They're not just a single use. I think the only time where a pen would have one use is if you've got something like a stamp pen, which I personally don't use, but I think that's where the best way to use them is just by pressing down and you get a stamp. So with that, this small spoon shader, I believe it's called like an extra small round pen. I have this linked below in my set, my favorite set of pens, or individually through Razertip. That goes for all these. Next up is a small ball stylus pen. These come in various different sizes. I can't tell you off the top of my head what this specific size is, but it's good for stippling, so you can get some really nice texture with stippling with these kinds of pens. You can, again, get straight lines with them. You can do curved lines. You can do some shading. Super versatile. Another most used pen that I use for every single project is a larger spoon shader. This is great for medium to large surface areas of burning, whether you're doing flowers or fur. This just gets you a nice base color, a base shading in your work. So super versatile. You can also outline with this, get some curved lines, use the edge. You can use the base in different angles. Just play around with it. I want to move on to my extra small writing pen. I really love this one as well. I use it to get my base outline of my design before I actually start shading and getting heavy on the contrast. This is also good for getting smaller details in little nooks and crannies of your design. If you are burning really intricate pieces, this is a really nifty little one to get into those smaller areas. Next, these two are very similar. It's a knife pen, and then you have a skew pen. The knife pen is really great for like cutting into the wood, getting sharp texture, whether you're burning fur or just want to get some really sharp line details. You can cut into the wood with this one. That's why it's called a knife pen. You can also shade though. You can use the edge and you can get a nice gradual shade with it. Play around with it. Skew pen is very similar. It's just not rounded like a knife would be. So I think it's just up to personal preference with this one. I don't use the skew as much as I use the knife pen. The skew is definitely one that comes with a lot of the kit. So if you're buying a Razertip system that comes with a pen set already, a skew is very often included. There's that. These are my top 6. Oh, these are my top 6 most used pens. Highly recommend. I think when you are picking your system that you want to use and the pen sets you want to use, it really matters what kind of burning you're going to be doing, even including how heavy you're going to be burning, what kind of subject matter you're going to be burning. This all matters. So Razertip has heavy duty pens, which my spoon shader is a heavy duty pen, meaning that it can withstand hundreds of hours of burning at high temperatures really well. The only issue with getting a heavy duty pen from Razertip is you also have to get their heavy duty cord, which is what plugs into the system and adapts to your pen. It just won't operate very well if you're using a heavy duty pen with a standard cord, which is what your system will come with. All of the standard pens are compatible with just the regular cord. Just to keep in mind, if you are a heavy burner and you're like, I want to do these crazy large pieces and I'm going to be spending hundreds of hours burning, then it might be worthwhile and easier on your budget and time to not have to keep replacing these pens and getting them fixed by getting a heavy duty pen. They can just hold up a little bit more to the abuse that we put on our pens. Secondly, when you are looking for a variety of pens or tips to use, I think it really matters what kind of subject matter you're going to be burning. So if you're going to be doing more wildlife, animals, pet portraits, there are specific sets on Razertip that have a variety of pens that are good for getting fur textures, finer details, smooth shading on things like the eyes. If you're going to be wood burning a lot of birds, there are actual pens specifically tailored to feathering. So ultimately it's what you want to do. If you are familiar with my work, I do all sorts of things. I do wildlife, I love to do florals, mushrooms, anything nature related, birds, insects, everything like that. And all of my pens have been really versatile for wood burning, whatever subject matter it is that I'm working on with each project. With that, we gotta go on to the second most important thing that you need to start wood burning, and that is wood. So, wood, where do we get it? I love to source wood through Facebook Marketplace. Number one, I have found my most favorite suppliers through Facebook Marketplace. Secondly, you can Google search live edge wood near me if you want to wood burn live edge wood, wood for wood burning near me. Google it. A few wood shops will pop up that are local to you. If they're not, then you might find retailers that sell internationally. There are a few, but just to show you how I search for wood near me, especially on Facebook Marketplace, is just by typing in live edge wood. If I'm looking for a specific type of wood, I'll type in maple rounds or cherry, a regular piece, or especially though, number one thing you want to be looking out for is kiln dried. You want to make sure that the wood has been kiln dried. Why? Kiln drying wood gets the wood to a very low moisture reading, meaning that it is suitable for wood burning. It also kills off any of the nasties that come in wood. So fungi, insects, pests like that, any nests. It sounds disgusting, but especially on wood that has bark in it, there's a lot of those things underneath the bark. Kiln drying just makes the wood safe to use and ideal surface for wood burning, because if your wood is green, meaning it's been freshly cut, you're going to see a lot of moisture coming out when you're burning, and that's going to result in inconsistent burns, a lot more smoke, and just overall not a pleasurable experience. So that's going to show up in your search, and you're going to want to make sure that you are specifying, and if it's not listed, you have to ask the supplier, has this been kiln dried? Just super important. Air drying is good too. I just prefer kiln drying because I know for certain that anything, specifically because of any of the nasty things, it's all killed. So yeah, Facebook Marketplace, highly recommend for searching for wood. If you don't have access to Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji, other online sellers, really great to just see what's local to you first. And then if that's not accessible, then there are many suppliers that ship internationally live edge wood that has been kiln dried and meets the criteria of what's good for wood burning. So what is good for wood burning? I love cherry and maple and birch. Those are probably my top three. I love these species because they provide a consistent burn. The color's really nice, usually very consistent grain patterns, not destructive. Woods that I don't love to burn with, specifically found here in North America, are ash. Absolutely terrible to burn with. Anything that is resinous, so pine, cedar, they are really pretty pieces of wood. The grain is gorgeous, but my goodness, that grain will make you hate wood burning, especially with ash. And like pine will have a harder grain that is almost impossible to burn over. Ash has a very soft grain that will disrupt your whole design, which I think in some cases it lends itself really nicely to the design, but in my experience, it just disrupts the whole entire thing. Also, you're not going to want wood that is too dark. They're gorgeous. Like any wood that you see in the wood shop that's like, wow, it's this beautiful, deep toned, all these grains are so gorgeous. You have to think about how is that going to burn, because my burns are not going to appear on this really dark piece of wood. Burns naturally are going to be very dark on the wood, which is why I like maple, cherry, birch. They're lighter woods that are really compatible for wood burning. Black walnut, gorgeous wood. I'm sure it is a great surface to burn on. However, with the wood being so dark already, the contrast is almost non-existent, and add that in with putting a finish on top that is naturally going to darken the wood a little bit, you can say goodbye to hours of work. That has happened to me. I speak from experience. I have burned black walnut. I've burned a darker variation of cherry as well. Put the finish on it and the burns were gone because the wood is already so dark, and any finish on that will just completely saturate the entire thing. And what happens is it matches the wood with the tone of your burns, so it makes them barely visible. So in my experience, I think I really prefer these woods. So just to show you the different variations and tones you can get with burning, this is with, this is with cherry. So it's a more red tone, The burns are like a reddish mahogany kind of color. I think it aids well to this design, but for this piece, I really loved the maple. It's lighter in color. The burns are a brown versus this reddish brown color. So I highly recommend you just see what's available in your area and, you know, try it out. Just experiment. That's how you're going to learn, is through trial and error. And that's exactly what I did. I saw this piece of wood that I really liked. I took it home, I burned on it. I realized maybe I wouldn't burn with this again. I found a piece of cherry, tried burning with it, and decided I love this. I want to keep burning with this. So I highly recommend you just go out there and try different things and see what's available in your area, because what I like might be completely different from what you like and what's compatible with your work. So those are the two bare minimum, and I'm talking bare minimum things you need to start wood burning today, is a wood burning system that you like and wood. However, there are a few things that are going to make your experience a lot more fun. And third in line, I'd say, is something to protect your lungs, because wood burning can be unsafe. And I need to say this because a lot of people ask me, don't you use a mask while burning? Or how are you getting rid of the fumes? And I do get rid of the fumes. I don't always like to wear a mask. I will not lie about that. But if you are super sensitive to the smoke, I highly recommend you get yourself a carbon filtered mask. You can change out the filter however often you need to. I do wear this when I'm burning a species of wood that is producing a lot more smoke, or if I'm just heavily burning one area, I will put a mask on. Same with when I'm sanding, because there's particles of dust flying all over the place and I don't want that in my nose. What I do use all the time though is a smoke extractor. This one is by Razertip. Again, it's carbon filtered. You can replace the carbon. I just get replaceable filters off of Amazon and cut them to fit this little square here and plug it in and go. And it's a little fan that works. Sucks out the smoke out of your workspace. Even better, bonus points, if you have a fan going or a window open, just to get a cross breeze happening in your studio or room, just to really make sure you're not inhaling any of that smoke. Again, it's really important to think about the type of wood you're using and whether it's toxic or not. So another reason why I like cherry and maple is it's non-toxic. While it's still not good to inhale the smoke, so I have said smoke extractor going, the wood itself doesn't have any toxic properties to it, so my workspace is relatively safe for me. Another very important tool to have in your inventory is sandpaper. Ideally, you will have something like an orbital sander as well, with universal fit disc sandpaper. I see all too often people wood burning on unsanded wood, and I just can't help but think about how much better your work will look if you sand it. And I mean this with all the love of my heart. I want your work to look good. I want you to have a good time wood burning. You're gonna have to sand your wood. Even if you purchase the wood already sanded, often it's not sanded enough. So for me, when I go to buy wood off of these Facebook Marketplace suppliers, often they come raw cut. They're really rough. I can't imagine burning on this. So I take it to my garage and I start sanding it. I start with a 60 grit sandpaper just to really remove any of these rough bumps, surfaces, anything else that might be on the wood, like dirt or anything like that. Then I move up to maybe 100, 120 grit. That really preps the surface. Doesn't get it super smooth enough to start burning yet, but it evens out the whole surface and gets it ready for your next level, which is going to be 220 or higher grit. I like to do 320 if it's available in my store. Sometimes all it's available is 220. That's okay. But you'll notice once you work your way up to this higher grit, it is so buttery soft, the surface, and it's just a dream to wood burn on. So I highly recommend, if you can, go get an orbital sander. I know that sometimes it's hard with the space you're in. Maybe you don't have a backyard or a garage or a driveway to be sanding outside. Take it to a friend's house, take it to your parents' house. Maybe they have space where you can sand. I was doing that for the longest time. I didn't have a place where I could really do a large workload of sanding. So I would take all my wood up to my dad's trailer and I would do my sanding there for a day. And that's what I did until I now live in a place that I have a garage. I can do sanding in the winter, but yeah, sanding out there in the cold in this Canadian weather is just not a dream, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And if you want good results, you have to sand your wood. If you don't want your wood burning to be rough and bumpy and takes ages to wood burn and I can't get good detail because all of this rough, raw edge cut from a saw is disrupting my entire design, you have to take the time to sand and it shows. Okay, someone said to me once that you can't make mistakes while wood burning, and I need to tell you now that is absolutely not true. You just need the right tools, and that tool is sandpaper. A little square of sandpaper. These are actually folded up. I just keep these on my desk at all time. This grit of sandpaper that you're gonna have on your workspace is gonna be matching the highest grit that you sanded with your orbital sander. So when you go to sand off a burn mark that you made, it's not going to be a different roughness now from the rest of your piece. And you can get this sheet sandpaper from any home hardware store, Home Depot, Rona, Home Hardware. You just cut it up into little squares and have it on your desk, and it makes life a lot easier. A couple other things to finish that really have changed things for me are a torch. So a butane pen torch or a kitchen torch, whatever option you want. You can get these off of Amazon. I'll link my specific one below. These torches are super helpful for shading large areas on your wood, on your design that just need to be dark. You just go nuts. You can use the torch to shade the entire thing, and they're really fun to use. It's really playing with fire. This has been such a game changer for me, just quickly covering surface area instead of going in with my small little pen. Even if it is my larger spoon shader, it can take a very long time to shade 2 square inches even. Using that torch, it can be done in 30 seconds versus 30 minutes. So the only thing with using a butane torch is that you're gonna need a butane canister to refill it, but I've had mine for a couple years now and I think it's still full. And lastly, my life-changing tool that I use in every single project, and when mine broke a couple months ago, I was devastated and immediately had to get a new one, and that is a rotary tool. I specifically right now use Dremel. What this is good for is it can not only fix your mistake, so you can remove burn marks that you've created, especially if they're deeper burn marks that maybe a piece of sandpaper can't get as quickly. You can go over with your Dremel and just scrape that out with it. It's also great for your design. So if there's parts that you want to use a relief technique with, which is dremeling, let's say a tree first and then shading in the background over top, you're only gonna be able to burn the areas that are not carved in. So it's a really quick way and fun way of just utilizing this relief sort of technique. Alternatively, you can go over the Dremel on your burn marks to add in texture or highlights, things like that. I love this little tool. So there you have it, my friends. I hope that this video helped you out, whether you are just starting wood burning or you are already wood burning and you want to upgrade your system. I promise you any of these changes could make your life a lot easier and make you enjoy it so much more. If you have any questions, let me know. And if there's anything you want to see in future videos, I'd love to hear from you. I really appreciate you watching, and that's it for today. I will see you in 2 weeks from now. I'm Hannah Veiga, and I will see you next time.